Hey folks, it's Keith here. Welcome to the May 2005 VTS video tutorial service. I am your host. Some wise subscriber suggested that I show a little bit of myself to keep things interesting. After this month, I don't think you guys are going to like him too much anymore. Anyhow, welcome to May. We're going to go into our third video of the series. We're going to be talking more about poses. Today, some of the things we're going to be talking about are weight inside of poses. Staging. Staging's a big thing, especially for appeal. And if we have some time, we might get into some other things. But before I get into that, let's not promise too much and see where we go. Anyhow, come along with me and we'll see what we got. First up, weight in poses. We'll see how it goes. Alright, here I am standing further back from the camera. And one of the things I want to talk about is weight inside of a pose. A typical problem with CG is that these characters come in like this. Not terribly interesting to look at, and not terribly interesting to move around. That's just a weightless kind of, because just stop and think about it. It really works this muscle right here to hold these things up. If you got a good rigger, maybe they might do like this. Got a really good rigger, they might do it like this. Anyhow, one of the things that are pretty common in CG poses is just this weird disconnect of body parts jacked in weird positions, in a sense to try and get the notion of, oh, I'm working on my silhouette here. Hello! Now that looks painful, and it actually kind of hurts to do it. But we do that in our animation because we're thinking, well, I gotta get a silhouette. See, I got the arm, and it's coming down, and I got this arm out, and I gotta make sure this hand is free, and get it up in the screen, because you know, you gotta get, oh, this hand's gotta come down in the screen, and the head's gotta go up, and I gotta tilt it just so, and oh, alright, there, it's a, oh, get this hand up, get that elbow, okay. It's a good CG pose because it's got good silhouette. I'm telling you right now, it hurts. Okay, don't do that. The reason why you don't want to do that is because it hurts. Characters, people, look at me, I'm more, I'm a bit of a chubby guy, but hey, I do okay. And we have weight. Some of us have some more than others. But we have weight inside of our poses and the things we do, and there's a comfortableness to living in our own skin. My shoulders aren't up all the time. It takes energy to put my shoulders up all the time. I can put them up all the time. It looks kind of funny. And that could be comedic, but just realize that takes away any sense of weight. Shoulders just kind of, boom, there they go. Hands just kind of hang down. Elbows, notice the elbows are not out. They're in. That's just normal. We tend to gesture up and out. Up and out, up and out, up and out. Sometimes we'll come up and in. But you notice see where the elbow? The elbow's kind of staying where it is. The hand does a lot of different things. You don't too often gesture from the shoulders. I mean, we can, and there's times where that's called for, in more broad, cartoony kinds of animation. But for those still moments, I mean, generally animation is made up of two different things. It's a contrast of motion against stillness. The motion is pretty interesting, but the stillness is where the story is told. And so, as I'm acting this out, I want to give you guys a sense of reference as to how a guy just kind of feels comfortable in his own skin. If you have a pose that's causing you a problem, the best thing to do is get up and try it out. Get up and try and put yourself into that pose. So if you got this really kind of cranky, well, let me look at this pose right there. Hey, get up and try it and see if your body is screaming at you to stop. If it is, it's a good idea. That's probably not a good pose. Again, of course, we want to exaggerate things and push things, and of course, there's a reason why I animate. It's because I can't make my body do certain things that I'd like my characters to do. But still, we can't break away from those bounds of reality too much, or else we start breaking down the connections with our audience. So weight in pose is pretty important. Let's take a look at some stuff on the computer, and I'll show you in specific when we're, tool around in Maya.
Alright, we're inside Maya here, and I've got my character, my little guy named Murray, and I've got him in a pose that's not so good. And there's reasons why this pose isn't so good. One is that it just doesn't have any sense of weight inside of him. He just feels not well connected, like he's just not comfortable in his own skin. There's a couple of things adding to this. This foot out here just doesn't seem to be supporting any weight. His torso is straight up and down, showing no sense of comfortableness inside of himself. This arm out here just kind of hanging out there for no good reason. This one up here just feels kind of stiff. The shoulders are all hunched and everything. It just feels like he's fighting himself. If I had a pose like this and I was just like, oh, I'm not sure why that is, one of the first things I do is get up and I just force my body to assume this kind of a position, and I see what my body's telling me about this. Having done that with this, one of the things that we could do, first I want to go ahead and select my camera and keyframe on it so that I can come back to it. But let's go ahead and maybe just start doing some things here to make him a little more comfortable. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get that hand down at his side. I mean, that's what people do, and their elbows tend to be in. And let's go ahead and get rid of that shrug on that shoulder. I mean, that shoulder is up way too high. Let's give him some comfortableness right there. Get that hand down. Get the weight of the hand going. You'll notice that people's hands flop a lot. Not super floppy. I mean, I don't think we all want to be, Shaggy or Jar Jar Binks, but I think that what we're after here is just some sense of the weight of the hand hanging by the ligaments in the wrist. And so a lot of times I like to angle that, just break it so it's kind of going more towards the ground. Already that's helping some. This foot right here being off, I mean, I kind of like the foot being out, but I don't like the way it's not holding any weight. So we can kind of adjust things a little bit and just kind of torque around with it some. And if we get it down, and the more I mess with it, I'm not thinking that foot out there is going to work that well. Just because the base is just a little bit too much. So we kick that foot that way, and maybe to give some sense of just plottingness, we just go ahead and kick this one over here. And he's a little far forward on those feet, so I'm just going to kick him back a little bit. So now it looks like he's sort of settling in on his own weight, and that's getting better. Okay, so he's starting to take some shape. Another thing let's go ahead and do, let's go ahead and just give some sense of weight, I guess, comfortableness inside of his torso. Stiff torsos is a big problem in CG animation. You got to be real careful to be mindful of building some kind of a curve, some kind of a line inside of your torso, so that a character has some sense of just compression and expansion inside their torso. A stiff torso in a CG character is, it just sticks out to me like a sore thumb. Got a little bit of an independent hip right here that when I rotate around a little bit. There we go. Now we're getting some weight inside of that. The head, was never really far off to start with, and all of a sudden this hand isn't bothering me quite so much. Still want to fix it a little bit, but it's not driving me. I kind of like it being up, but I think the shrug's just a bit extreme. And that finger right there is just a little too straight up and down. Maybe we do something like that, and then take this thumb and kind of relax it. Take this finger, just kind of play around with some of these extra little things here. And so, pretty quickly you see that we get all these things into pieces. Set new keys on that. Let's go to that frame right there and set a key. So we go from that to that. Just look at those two poses. This one right there, sure, we'll turn off all these little things right here. Just take a look at the pose. That right there was what we started with, and then we go and fixed it to that. Notice there's just some weight to it. That's not perfect by a long shot, but there's some weight to it, and he just feels comfortable in his own skin. And so those are some of the things you want to try and be mindful of. Work with the wrists, how they point to the ground. Work inside the shoulders and give some sense of weight there. Definitely work the torso and the hips with the contrapostal and things like that. The head I'm not super happy with, but this is just a real quick example. And you can tweak these things for a while. The thing about poses, good poses take time. I mean, you'll see a traditional 2D animator, he will be drawing and drawing and drawing, and they'll draw the same pose, I don't know, 50 times. They'll work half a day on a pose just to get the right drawing. If you're in a feature film environment and you've got a pose that just absolutely has to sell, it's not out of the realm of possibility that you'll spend 3-4 hours on a single pose just to get it right where you want it to go. And you'll try a bunch of different things along the way, but that's all part of the fun, is trying all those different things. So that's the difference between something that's got no weight in the pose and something no weight. Hopefully that's helpful to you.
Staging. Now staging, a lot of times, if you're in professional animation, a lot of times the staging is kind of solved for you. They'll figure it out either in storyboard phase, or they'll figure it out in workbook, or in layout. A lot of times the staging issues are already taken care of for you. Even so, as an animator, it's our job to make our staging even better. And even then, they're only just working out the basics. A lot of times the layout is just a character like this. Well, we want them screen right. A little more. Okay, that's your layout. Okay, great. It's still not really working for you as far as your poses go. So it's important for us as animators to strengthen our staging muscles. A couple things about staging. One thing is, if you show it, use it. So if I were to take this camera all the way back and show you my feet, you would expect to actually see me using my feet. There's no point in me showing you my feet in this little video presentation because they're not going anywhere. So why show them? Let's say I get in really close. And this is a close-up shot. Now there's no need for me to show you my waist or my legs or anything else. Because really the thing that matters right here is my face. Scary face. But it's the only thing that matters. Backing up. Now you kind of expect me to use my hands. Because, it's staged in such a way. Staging is important. Where you choose to put your camera, where you choose to put your character, and how you present them is important. Profiles are not naturally very good. One of the reasons why profiles aren't very good, there's only one eye. And then it's a very graphical presentation of a character. We don't tend to identify with profiles too much. Because we don't look at people from the side that often, we tend to want to look at them straight on. Another thing we like to do with them is we don't like to look at them straight on. Because if you look at them straight on, it's kind of creepy. Especially if you're looking at me. So we like to look at them a little bit at a side, an angle. This is very comfortable. I can interact, but it also gives me space. It gives me ways to reach out to another character, but it also allows me room to come back and maybe turn away and figure out my thoughts and then come back to you with them. So you see, staging is really important for how we access our characters. If our character is always, then that's something that's a very deep character-sated issue. They're always open. They're always presenting themselves. They're always, ta-da! And that's kind of an odd character. We don't generally feel very comfortable around people like that. We feel a little more comfortable around people who know the distance and how to keep their space. So it's important for us to know that about our characters, to give them their own kind of space, to give them the room they need to work with. Another thing about staging you'll notice is that I'm not too terribly worried about the top of my head missing in this particular thing. That's because that looks better than this. Well, doesn't this look weird? It looks like I'm drowning. Glub. So, when you're staging your camera and your character, generally don't worry about the top of the head. You don't want to go to this level, because then it looks kind of weird. But you can kind of go right about there. You can crowd the top of the frame with the head. If I do this, then it feels like the cameraman's not awake. He's not really paying attention. You get down here, and it really feels kind of small. Now, these are important things to use if your character is really being domineered in the story, because sometimes you can do this. Look up at a guy, or you can kind of go down like, oh, I'm small, I'm so weak. So there is no such thing as a rule in this area, but there's things to keep in mind. So the staging thing is, definitely use what you're going to show. And if you're not going to use it, then don't show it. Again, let's go to the close-up. This is good too. If you're going to do a close-up, and you're going to look at a guy like this, and you're going to talk, and he's going to do some things, you're not going to want to crowd the screen with his hand gestures, because, it gets in the way. So I see sometimes guys at work will be staging. Well, it's a close-up shot, and I need him to gesture, but, I can't fit the hand in there. Well, you don't have to worry about fitting the hand in there. All you have to do is hint at it. Now watch that. Watch that. This is cool. Watch this. This is cool. I can gesture, and you don't see it, but I gestured. Well, how do you know? You watch my shoulder, you watch the shift of the weight, you watch the way I'm moving, and even though you don't see my hands, maybe just a little bit, but I'm gesturing, and something's going on. You know when I'm reaching out to you. You know when I'm pulling back. And you do this by taking the clues from the shoulders and from the way you shift the weight in through here. It's important to take these things in mind, because if you try and crowd the screen and then gesture with the hands, this is crazy. This is like a guy who's trying to sell you a television. Enough humor for now. Let's take a look at some stuff in the computer, and I'll show you kind of messing around with a puppet, how we can tweak a few things to make this flow a little bit better.
Alright, let's have a look at our friend Murray here again. Here, if you just hit this and hit play, you'll see that I've just keyframed a real simple little shrug animation. You know, it's nothing special, guys, really. I just slapped it together in a couple of minutes. There's all kinds of things wrong with it, but you kind of get the idea. Anyhow, this right here is an example of a fairly simplistic action that if you stage it a number of different ways, it takes on slightly different meanings. Its current staging, where he's full body, it's not, I mean, there's just not much of a reason to stage it this way. He's not using his feet. He's not traveling in screen anywhere. If you were to look at this whole thing in the realm of a movie, you would look at the cinematographer or the director of photography or the director and say, guys, what are you doing? I don't understand what you're trying to say here. Now, there are times when you want a character staged full body on without doing much. That's generally as a point of emphasis, though. So let's take a look at this if we kind of pop in a little bit. Let's say we keep that same action, but now we stage it as a medium shot. So we go ahead, and now it's a bit more lively. Maybe a bit over animated for the medium shot, but there's a definite strong sense of what's going on there. Now we are losing some of the things with the hands. So something about the hands tells me that staging wise they're important. So maybe we take it back to a medium long shot. And taking it back to a medium long shot, now we're starting to get something that's feeling a little more appropriate. You don't need to see the feet down here. We're not doing anything with the feet. But we have enough of the hands to get the idea across with the shoulders and everything else that we can still get, hey, he's kind of shrugging, he's thinking and then saying, I don't know. Now let's say we go in really tight and make this a close-up shot. It's pretty lively at this close. Notice the difference between when we're this far away, which feels kind of not much is happening, versus getting in this close, where it feels like a lot's happening. And if this were a dialogue piece, this could be a fairly intense piece of dialogue, just by what's going on here. And like I said in the live video portion, you can get a sense that there's something going on with his hands and the gesture. And if he were to say, well, I don't know, you'd feel, oh, I don't know, right there in the shoulders, because he is gesturing. And that's one of the things about close-up shots, is you got to be mindful. Sure, you don't want to waste your time animating things off screen, but when things off screen affect things on screen, you better animate them, because if you don't, it shows up like crazy. So this is just a quick poke around at some different ways of staging act, various results out of it. And if I had to put a grade on it and say which one I like the most, I'd say I like this one the most. It's kind of a medium long shot, reads well, and you get the idea.
Alright kids, that's all I have for this month. I hope it was useful to you. I hope I didn't scare you too much with this face. My humble apologies. Hey, one of you guys suggested it. Actually, two of you guys suggested it. So don't blame me. I'm just reacting to subscriber input. I'm very sorry if it frightened you, though. But hopefully, me filming myself, acting some things out, and explaining some things, made it a little more tangible for you. And if you like it, hey, email me. Let me know whether you do or don't like to see my ugly face, acting these things out, explaining them. If you do, hey, great. If you don't, hey, I'm not offended. I've been called worse. But anyways, thanks a bunch for playing along. I really do appreciate you being a subscriber, and I really do appreciate the things that you're helping me accomplish in the world by helping some other folks. And stay tuned, stay subscribed. Next month, we're going to probably wrap up posing and start getting into some other things, like maybe timing. We still have to cover thumbnails and how to break down live action stuff, so we might do those things first. We'll play it by ear and see how it goes. Anyhow, thanks a bunch. I really hope that this was a blessing to you. All the best, and God bless.